All right, welcome into the Aggie podcast. This is Isaac Draxler. I'm your host tonight, and I've got a special guest, Calvin Knapp. Real quick, just wanted to mention that we are brought to you by Rakuten.com. Check out the link that I sent out on my Twitter that you can get $30 when you sign up for Rakuten.com account. And really excited about recording this podcast. It's been a little while since we've recorded a podcast, and we're starting to preview the different position groups and the new guys and different things going on. Obviously leading up to the start of the season, which is going to be here before we know it. And had the opportunity to get Calvin Knapp on the podcast and jumped at the opportunity. And really excited to get to know him and hear about how he ended up at Utah State. So Calvin, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we appreciate it.
Awesome. I really appreciate you having me on the show. So first off, I'm from Wisconsin originally. Grew up in a small town, Jackson, but went to high school in Germantown. Pretty much played linebacker and D end my whole life there. Didn't get really any Division I interest, or I think I talked to maybe one Division I school about a walk-on during that time. Ended up taking an opportunity at Southwest Minnesota State to play D end there, and was there for about a year and a half. With different coaching changes and sort of the environment there, I wasn't too happy. Ended up leaving and going to Iowa Western Community College. Obviously, so that was last spring. Obviously, COVID, kind of interrupted that. But, in a lot of ways, that was the best thing that could have happened for me. I had left on, less than satisfied terms with my last school. And so I had nothing but free time to work on myself, really dial in my diet, hit the weights, working out twice a day as much as possible, just to get ready for whenever football would be, happening again, which at the time none of us really knew, I guess.
Yeah.
So went back to Iowa Western in the fall as, about 40 pounds, I would say 30 to 40 pounds heavier than I was when I first left Southwest Minnesota. Had an OLine coach, brand new OLine coach, Coach Coling, see me and say, I think you'd be a great O-lineman. First, I disagreed, but I stuck with it. Ended up finishing the spring season, which we actually played an 8-game season this spring. Finished that with quite a few offers that I really liked. Was originally set on going to North Dakota, despite some other FBS interest, but had been talking to the coaches at Utah State for, a couple months during that process, and really got to know them well. Coach Gibbs, Coach James, Coach Camp were all really personal with me. And so when I ended up getting the call to, have the opportunity to come play here on scholarship, it was, a no-brainer for me. They had offered me, and the next day I called Coach Anderson and committed. I think about 1 week later, I was moving into my new spot in Logan. So it was a quick turnaround. It's been a wild journey, but I made that decision kind of on the fly. But everything I've experienced since I've been here has just confirmed that I made the right choice, which has been great.
Okay, so yeah, you didn't have a chance to go on an official visit and go through a lot of the recruiting, kind of normal recruiting process, right? But yeah, tell us a little bit about what your impression is of Logan, Utah, and how things are going at Utah State.
So yeah, I didn't get the chance to visit. I had heard a lot about Utah State. I'm a huge Packer fan, and so with Jordan Love getting drafted, it kind of created some buzz around the program. So I knew about it. I knew it was a big time program. Obviously, the Mountain West is a great conference to play in, but didn't know much about the town. And so first getting out here, I mean, we ended up driving from Wisconsin, and so the buildup was kind of start out in Nebraska, there's nothing but corn. You get into Wyoming and it's still pretty empty, but a little bit of mountains. And then, to get into Utah, it's just, we end up driving through Bear Lake, one of the most beautiful areas I've ever seen. And then to go through the canyon and end up in Logan, like, it's hard to describe, but, kind of pulling out of that canyon into Logan right by campus, it was like, it felt like being home. It's kind of cliche, but it really was the case. And since then, it's been wonderful. I'm living. So right now, I actually tweeted out when I first was deciding to come here, I didn't know where I was going to stay, and I wasn't able to stay on campus. So I tweeted out, like, do any Aggie fans, know a place I can stay? I got a couple of responses, but one of them was Sylvan Needham needed, had a spot in his house, and ended up taking his offer and staying here. And, me and Sylvan have become great friends since, which is a testament to the people in Logan. I mean, the Needham family is pretty well known, and they're all great people. So to be welcomed by Sylvan and his family has been, wonderful. And so far I get the same kind of vibe out of everyone else I've met here in Logan. It's we have a thing like Midwest nice is like the stereotype for people from Wisconsin, but it's nice that in Utah I'm getting the same kind of energy of that Utah nice. Everyone is so hospitable. So I love it. As far as the time, I mean, we got everything we need, honestly. I mean, especially compared to where I've been from. I think the town of Marshall, where Southwest Minnesota was about 15,000 people. So when you're talking about the Cache Valley being, 100,000 people or more, it's pretty awesome. And almost every single one of them is an Aggie fan. So that's been really cool to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. So yeah, that's a cool story to and you're just gonna keep living in the same spot, and you don't have to move around or anything like that, right?
Yeah. So I really
Yeah,
like the
perfect.
house I'm at. I like my landlord. We're good friends, so it's awesome to have kind of lucked out the first place I found to be a place I could see myself in for the rest of my time here.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's perfect. And then so as I mentioned, what's your, I guess you talked a little bit about the coaching staff and different things like that. What we're going to be previewing the offensive line. What's your kind of opinion, or what do you think about your fellow line so far? That's kind of a position that a lot of Aggie fans, they kept seeing these guys transfer out and different things. A couple guys leave, and then obviously Aggie fans are going to have a little bit of concern, just based on the numbers, based on the guys leaving, if that's going to be a position of strength or a position that's going to kind of struggle. So
Yeah, so I definitely know, anytime a junior college guy is brought in, there's sometimes issues in that position group. But so far, I've actually been, really pleasantly surprised with the group. I think the guys that have stayed and the guys that we have right now is a really strong core group. I've learned so much about OLine from them already, just in the 2 months I've been here, and we haven't even started practice. All super welcoming, getting me up to speed, which has been great. But beyond that, I mean, the workout program Coach Jackson has us going through is, second to none. It's one of the best in the country. And so when I see guys like Jacob South and Fred and Dolph, those guys, some of the leaders of the team, when I see them out in the front of the pack in those runs that are pretty difficult, it's a good sign of what's to come. Obviously, we haven't gotten the pads on yet and really started to play yet, but from those workouts alone, I would say the energy out of our group specifically is going to be great. Like, I already know that we can count on those guys to work hard, and they're going to expect me to work hard. They're going to push me, and I'm going to push them. So from a summer workouts and summer training standpoint, it's been excellent. From a coaching standpoint, I mean, it's kind of a rare thing, I think, rare situation where we have three coaches that are, designated essentially to O-line. So we have Coach James, obviously, is, our main O-line coach, and he's been great. I mean, he's very understanding, and that's the best part. They all have their own style, and I think it, combine it all together, it's like the perfect formula. But Coach Camp is great. He's super knowledgeable. He's a younger guy, so we know he's been there. I mean, so is Coach James, but Coach Camp's a little closer to his college days, and going to him and talking to him about stuff has been great. But then you got Coach Gibbs, who is just a part of the kind of the whole system of the offense and is extremely knowledgeable in that. And he's been at every meeting we have where if we have a question about different scheme and little nuances to the system, he's on it. He knows it. So to have that kind of support, I think, is going to lead to success. Definitely a situation where they're going to give us everything we give them, and vice versa, which I really like. Just the energy in the meeting room has been great. So I've definitely appreciated that so far, and excited as hell for fall camp. I think it's going to be great to see guys really rise to the top and start leading the group.
Yeah, that's exciting to kind of see what happens with the and this is every year. It's college football, so guys graduate, guys leave, new guys come in, young guys. Really, at Utah State, usually every year there's new guys that step up and really impress the coaches, really contribute to the team. So it'll be exciting to see if that happens on the offensive line or what other positions that happens with. But looking at the depth chart and looking at the roster, there are guys that have experience, whether at Utah State or other schools. There are guys that you could plug in that have a lot of experience, and I think Aggie fans, Aggie coaches, Aggie players should have some pretty high expectations or confidence that formula will kind of come through. So what's the biggest, just kind of out of curiosity, what's been your biggest maybe challenge or difference, moving from defense, moving from you mentioned linebacker, defensive end, moving from a different position to offensive line? What's the biggest difference that you've seen?
That's a good question. So I think physically, when I first transitioned, it was actually a lot easier than I really expected. And I thank my coach at Iowa Western for that. When I first started to learn how to pass set, they were very kind of hands off with that and kind of let me develop my own kind of pass set. And at first, I just kind of looked like, because of my linebacker background, I was used to shuffle steps almost when pursuing a running back, things like that, lateral movement. And so when I first started pass setting, I kind of looked like a linebacker trying to drop back or shuffle or something, which, got me beat a lot early on. And that's why it was such a blessing that we didn't play in the fall and I had a semester to just develop in silence kind of. But anyways, I would say that was challenging mentally to, not overset and hone my athleticism kind of into something usable. But beyond that, I would say just learning the scheme. I mean, I've been a defensive player my whole life until this past fall. And so starting to understand offense and, not just, okay, what am I doing on this play, but why am I doing it and why are we running this play? What are we trying to achieve? That's something that's been a really exciting but challenging thing for me, especially moving. I mean, at Iowa Western, I was just focused on my own job, whereas coming here, I've started to try to learn the bigger picture, which has been, pushed by, Coach Camp and Coach Gibbs and Coach James, just that, we want you to do your job, but we also want you to understand the offense, which is, I think the best way to learn it. But yeah, I would say the mental side of the game has definitely been a challenge, but a challenge that I enjoy.
Do you expect to ever move over to guard if they need you at guard, or are you pretty set on staying at tackle? I guess it probably depends on coaching staff, different things like that. But do you see yourself ever?
I do. I think of myself as a football player, right? So they could tell me to play any position and I'll make it work. I could see myself playing guard